Hey, I'm sat here today and lucky enough to be chatting to John O'Brien, who's the CEO and founder of Poolwerx. So thanks for jumping on the call today, John.
Good pleasure, Tom.
Good stuff. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit more about Poolwerx?
Yeah, hi, Tom. I started this business off nearly 30 years ago now. We operate across the USA, New Zealand and Australia. And we're a swimming pool and spa, a retail and service business, domestic and commercial.
That's amazing. So, look, we're always sort of chatting to people, and the first question is quite an open one. But what's been the sort of biggest impact of COVID-19 on your business?
Yeah, look, I suppose, Tom, I've been in business for myself since I was 28. I've had 5 different brands. I've been at Poolwerx for nearly 30 years. We've been through 5 economic downturns during that time. And I suppose we've become pretty seasoned along the way, but one of those has been an economic-induced recession. The difference this time is that we've got a health-induced recession, which is kind of made a bit more complicated by government reaction and media reaction. So it's a lot more out of our hands and out of our control than what it's ever been before, and therefore more challenging. But we're very lucky that we've got a multi-pronged business. We have a service business that's both domestic and commercial, and we're also retail and service. So we've been able to turn on and off some levers to kind of compensate for where we've been hit really hard.
That's really good to hear. And I know obviously from chatting to you and people in your team, so you've been able to sort of adapt and pivot your business slightly to ensure you're respecting the sort of safety and obviously respecting the social distancing sort of rules and sort of restrictions. Is that right?
Yeah, look, like a lot of businesses, we run our business on values. We build our values out of hardship, and they've got us through all the hard times. One of them is called Dare to Succeed, and it's really kicked in for us. We've developed 6 new products for consumer engagement in 6 weeks. And we probably have tried some before and not launched them well or not had a good take-up. So like a lot of people, products that have taken us 16 years to develop, we've launched in 6 weeks. But I mean, just to go through a few of those, because I think, other businesses are adapting all sorts of things at the moment, but we have both do-it-for-me clients at home and do-it-yourself clients that come into our store. So, of course, our do-it-for-me clients have continued to use our services at home, like always, but the do-it-yourselfers who don't want to leave home because they're worried about the virus, we've adopted a few new products for them. For example, if you test your pool and click on our website, phone us, email us, text us or whatever, we'll come and home deliver the products for you. If you actually used to come to our store to have your water tested, if you don't want to leave home, we'll come to your pool and we'll test your pool for you and we'll treat your pool for you. So there've been a couple of home delivery and test and treat. On the retail side, for those people that do want to leave home, but they're not real comfortable about coming into a retail store, we've got a couple of products where we've said, click on our site, phone us, whatever, and if you've tested the pool, tell us what you want. We've got witches' hats out the front of our store, designated car parks, pull into the car park, phone us, we'll come out, pop your boot, pop your trunk, we'll put the products in the boot, no contact. If you in fact normally come to our store for a water test and you're really concerned about contactless, contact-free, pop your water sample on your roof, do up your window, we'll come out, phone us, grab the water sample, take it into store, test it in store, come back, pop your trunk boot, and we'll pop the products in your boot and away you go. Contact-free, contactless, the whole focus of our 6 new products.
That's amazing. That's so good to hear. And this has been well received by all your sort of franchise partners, and they're all, excited to be, sort of still be out there operating.
Yeah, look, we've got nearly 200 franchise partners across 3 countries. We're biggest global pool service company in the world. Nearly 200 stores and nearly 600 vans. But probably one of the biggest exciting things about this, we've always had a fantastic group of franchise partners. But through all of this, the way that they've come together, the way that they've contributed to the innovation because we don't come up with smart ideas at head office. It's the people at the coalface that come up with them. We just got to spot them and put them into a system. But the way that our franchise partners have got involved in innovation and wheeled out the innovation has been incredible, very quick.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So that's testament to the communication channels that you've got and the relationships that you've got with your franchise partners. So that's awesome.
Well, I think the communication's interesting though, Tom. I mean, if you don't mind, I think that's a key point in everything we're doing, and it's one of the key things that's coming out of COVID. But we very quickly moved to daily video bites from a different senior leader every day. But we quickly learned to chunk it down and just give one tip, one thing to do today, different to focus on to take your business forward. But we also learned that a video was better than written, but once a week we moved to a town hall Zoom meeting. So we're having a couple of hundred people come into our Zoom meetings, and having them be able to interact with us, go on the chat, answer the chats, break them out into breakout rooms, come back into the town hall. The way we've embraced technology, but the way they've embraced technology, and the way we've been able to communicate like we've never had before with tools that were already there, has really helped that, and I think that rollout process.
That's really interesting, because I feel like one of the common threads and the common themes of all of this is kind of sped up what was kind of inevitable, right? And this is kind of, these things were here, but there was resistance or hesitance or just simply not enough time. But it sounds like these new sort of communication tools or communication channels that you put into place, it sounds like you'll keep them after things kind of go back to normal.
Yeah, look, one of the interesting outcomes is that because none of us can travel across countries or across state borders, is that we've had to postpone our convention, which we'll be having, instead of having a 5-day convention, we'll be having a 1-day digital convention and have the big one next year. We've not been able to do our new franchise partner onboarding. We've not been able to do all the different physical trainings we have at head office through the year for technicians and retailers. We've not been able to have our weekly business meetings for our franchise partners in every capital city, but they've all gone on to digital. And one of the fun things about it, our attendance rates have gone up. For example, our franchise partners who might drive an hour to the capital city for a monthly business meeting with their colleagues, either mum or dad might attend, but rarely would they both attend. And now we've got mum and dad attending from home, having a cup of tea or a coffee or even a wine.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. So there's definitely some positives which are coming out of this, and I think that sort of people jumping into new technologies and embracing them is certainly some one thread that we're sort of seeing time and time again. So that's awesome that you guys have done that as well. Now, sort of, are you seeing any sort of bigger trends that in the marketplace that you think will sort of continue?
Yeah, one of the interesting ones that's directly affected us, but it affected a lot of other home industries and home product provider industries, is that back during the GFC we saw it too. It was termed cocooning back then. We haven't heard a lot about it this time, but home is the new place of work, study and play. So schools are shut, universities are shut, businesses are shut, everyone's working from home. In addition to that, of course, you've got 20-something adult children coming home because they're often in tourism or hospitality and they've lost their jobs. So home is bursting at the seams. And we've seen that because people have put off that Africa holiday of a lifetime or that European cruise, they've suddenly got $20,000 or $30,000 or more of income that they're thinking, well, what do I do with this? Well, let's help make the cocoon at home fancier. Let's invest in the backyard. Let's clean up the pool. Let's buy some heating or some solar or some lights or some sound or some barbecues or gazebos, or improve the sound system or the TV at home people like people selling electronic devices at home, people providing home backyard services like us are seeing quite a boom. We are.
That's really interesting. You know what? when I step out for my sort of hours exercise day, there's a lot of old televisions sat on the street ready for council cleanup. So That's
Probably a lot of our
cocooning,
push
right?
bikes too. A lot of our push bikes have been upgraded. I upgraded mine.
Yeah, this is interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that, but that's super interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's it. If you can't sort of go away and you are spending lots of time at home, work on the nest, right? Work in, and cocoon. That's interesting. That's a really interesting trend to see. Now, you obviously mentioned that things are obviously, going good, and sales and stuff are keeping up. I mean, how are you finding other businesses are struggling with with sort of cash flow? Is that something you've experienced, or are things still pretty good from your side?
Oh no, cash is king. In any economic downturn, the first thing that any business should do, whether it's severely affected, marginally affected, or could be affected, because this is an unwritten place that we're in. I mean, for a bit of a veteran like me, I can pretty well zig and zag from an economic downturn. But because a lot of this is out of our control, our governments can change legislation tomorrow, the COVID can spike again, whatever it might be, is that you must keep cash so you're not at risk. So, we've the first thing we did with our franchise partners, we're very sophisticated with our business planning every year. We use a particular NetSuite derivative to do that. But we straight away went out there with every single franchise partner and we redid their business plan for the rest of the year. We didn't throw it out, but we pretty well put it to the side. And we did a matrix and we said, here's the 3 likely revenue scenarios. Same as last year, 5% decline, 10% decline. And then we said, what are the simultaneous COGS or expense lines that we could reduce if any one of those 3 scenarios eventuate? So that the BDM, the coach, is able to be with the franchise partner and monitor it on a weekly, monthly basis and adjust as we go through it. Because at the end of the day, whilst that's critical, the cash flow is more critical than ever before. So we normally review cash flows with our franchise partners monthly. We're now moving that up to more frequently. And we've introduced cash flow management online training with our franchise partners too. And that's had enormous take up. We've, because our business hasn't been affected by 30 or 25%, we haven't triggered in Australia the landlord requirements. But right across Australia, New Zealand and America, because we have real estate professionals in-house, we've developed letters and communication scripts and tools for our franchise partners to go to their landlords and say, look, we're in this together. We're doing okay. We need your help to continue to invest and get through the other side. And we've had an enormous take-up from landlords who have almost in every case given us some relief, which has been really good. We've looked at every single line we possibly can. A lot of our franchise partners have gone out to their motor vehicle leasing companies and got some abatement or some deferment. Even though they mightn't need it, they're actually putting their acorns aside just to get through. And we did the same with head office too. We actually got a 40% abatement from our landlord on our rent because we're such a great tenant, and he said, I want to do our bit and get through this with you.
That's great to hear. Because I think there needs to be some sort of, even if it's not legislated, there needs to be some sort of shared responsibility and an understanding that with some businesses or most businesses having to take a hit, then the best, you said yourself, we're in this together and people can share that, then that's great to hear. Now, moving on, you mentioned your office there. Have you switched completely to a sort of work from home model now? Are people still going into the office? Or?
Yeah, we went very early with that. About 6 weeks ago, we completely shut down the head office. We allowed everybody to pull for every piece of technology they could from the head office and take home with it and set up their home office. And we invested to help them do that. And we turned off every service we could to help us minimize our costs and make sure that our people weren't infecting the whole of head office. We have over 1,000 people working our brand across 3 countries. And I'm really happy to say at this stage, not a single hint of an infection in our business. We went really hard across all of our business, not just at head office, but also at technician level, with all of our early videos about complying with all the the government suggestions, and we went a stage further with all of that to make sure we were over the top both in store, in van, and at head office.
Yeah, that's great, and obviously, and people are sort of, the whole process has been relatively seamless as far as, you know, it sounds like the technology you're using is working, and people are engaged, and people are you know, still working really hard and committed and involved.
Yeah, look, it has. It took a little while for people to, probably only a week, for people to adapt to the technology. We all connect on Google Hangouts regularly all the time. We have our Zoom meetings all the time. But you know, what people are writing about is true, that there is not everybody is set up to work well at home. So that comes with some challenges. Kids are at home, that comes with some challenges. You've got to cut each other a little bit of slack for that. I mean, if the dog jumps up on the desk or the kids run through, you know, it's just part of life. But I have noticed after 6 weeks that some of our team are saying, I can't wait to get back to work. We actually miss the collegiate atmosphere, the inspiration that comes from having lunch with a colleague or dropping into a colleague's office. I think this is going to be we call it BAU, business as unusual. And I think, as we know, and there's been a lot written about it, there's definitely going to be a new norm that comes out of all of this. I don't think we'll have people working from home at all, but there'll be a mixture for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. You mentioned obviously the dog on the Zoom call, or the kid running in. I think this is interesting. There's a kind of real authenticity to it. So I think it's nice. I think people are seeing the other side to people they work with, and I think that's kind of nice, and it's kind of a nice. It's kind of strange that you sort of see a real human side, even though you're kind of you're slipping through a screen. So I think it's interesting. You mentioned obviously that your business is strong, and things are looking positive, especially with this the cocooning you mentioned as well. I mean, have you been impacted at all by sort of any supply chain issues? With anything, with things being shut down, or obviously things coming from China?
Yeah, look, a lot of our pool chemicals and pool equipment comes from China. So we got onto this probably back in mid-February, where we got with all of our distributors and suppliers, and we developed a matrix. And the matrix said, so they report to us on a weekly basis as to products that are coming into their manufacturing from their suppliers. So we monitor that. We monitor their manufacturing. So they might have illness in the factory or whatever. We monitor their inventory levels, and we monitor their logistics, their delivery to us. And we actually use a traffic light, red, green, amber. And across all of our suppliers on one page, on one matrix, we can see how they're tracking. So if there's a problem in products coming into China to their manufacturing, then we can see 6 to 8 weeks out if there's a supply chain problem. So that happened in one case already, and they quickly pivoted and were able to source from India. So we didn't have a problem. Having said that, some of them, particularly in the US, are starting to experience logistic issues, cross-border, bureaucracy, hold-ups, sicknesses. So we've been talking to some of our suppliers this week about saying, how about to help with that, we take bigger orders less often. So we're taking like 90-day orders, but we're negotiating with them to have 90 to 120-day terms. So we're working together.
That's great. So you're sort of preempting any sort of changes to payment cycles and making sure you negotiate upfront with those.
Yeah.
That's great. And are you sort of feeling, you obviously have been in this business community for a long time. Do you feel like there's an element of flexibility that wouldn't normally be there because there's a sort of an empathy right now?
Yeah, look, I would probably say, because I work across 3 countries and I work in lots of different sectors within that 95% of the product and service providers that we're dealing with are showing, I mean, most of them have always been good. I think it's part of the way we work. We actually call our suppliers partners in profit. We call our franchisees franchise partners. We have this real partnership mentality we already have. And, I just think sometimes if you've got good structures and good cultures and good value in your business, you kind of don't have to zig too much at times like this. It kind of comes to its fore. but I'd say 95% of our suppliers have come to the party.
That's fantastic. And I mean, you've touched on it a number of times. You guys sound like you're ahead of the 8 ball on a lot of these things. So I'm really interested to know what your thoughts are, about the future. How are you future sort of planning, and what do you see for the sort of? Do you think there's going to be some sort of soft openings or a sort of softening of social distancing?
Yeah, look, we're just as much crystal balling as everybody else. Budgets and forecasts are only ever a best guess. At the moment, they've got high risk weightings against those best guesses, but you've still got to make them. So probably myself and the senior team have never read, listened, monitored so much in our lives. But I think the more you do, the more you digest it down into what's relevant for your industry and what's likely to happen. So we're relatively confident that we've got a quarter by quarter view about the next 18 months. And it gets more and more divergent or less reliable, of course, every quarter as you go out. And we're feeling quite buoyant about it, to be honest. I mean, our business, because it has flexible pedals within it, has been very resilient. Home service, home supply has always been a resilient sector. I think it's even more so this time. But it's interesting. Our brand, Poolwerx, our positioning statement is Poolwerx for healthy pool people. It's been like that for 15 years. And so what is our purpose? Our purpose is to keep swimming pools and spas healthy. It's probably, ironically, never been a more important time for us to help families keep their backyard pools healthy, so they're healthy. So our first priority has been about health, about keeping our clients' pools healthy, keeping our field team and our retail team healthy. We've put up the retail counter shields so that the client feels healthy and the staff member feels healthy, so there's no spray. That's we've developed a COVID device that has gone on all our vans, all our stores, all our uniforms. It says, our first brand was a Lifebuoy about pool health. We've re-energized the old Lifebuoy, and it's got sanitized, contactless, and depending on whether you're in New Zealand, Australia, or America, 6 feet, 1.5 meters, or 2 meters. But they're just some of the things we've done to focus on health to make sure that we're true to our values.
Yeah, that's great. So essentially, you're sort of preparing for there being, even if the social distancing laws get sort of changed very kind of more swiftly than we might think, you think there'll still probably be a need for keeping distances and obviously making everyone sort of safe and comfortable, I guess, in their working world and at home.
I think we're all going to be cautious about going to the football and mixing with 50,000 people going forward. It'll take us, I think, many years before we've got that sort of comfort, or jumping in a plane and flying across the world again. So there will definitely be a sensitivity. Like all things, they will pass, and we will adapt to a new norm. But no, we're very upbeat, to be honest, about the future. Without wanting to be seen to kind of be opportunistic in these difficult times, I think any business should also be saying two things: how do we adapt for now and make sure we get through this? But at the same time, they should be starting to turn their thinking to how do we come out of this? And you're not going to come out of it the way you used to. How do we come out of this to the new norm? Now, we were very lucky. We were we started back in November with a once in 5 year review of our brand and our brand strategy and everything. We reviewed everything in the business. That was very coincidental and fortuitous, but we've already identified and adjusted a number of things to not only get through this now, but to come out of this as a new and refined and better business. And to me, it's actually exciting. Once in a 100-year event, for somebody in their 20s or 30s or 40s, even for somebody at my age, this can define you. This can define your career, can define your future, it can define your brand. And how you react now will be remembered afterwards by your people and by your clients, for sure, yeah. Good or bad.
That's really interesting. I think there can be a couple of points there which are really super interesting. But I think, lots of businesses are kind of using this as a time for reflection and review, and then also the point of reacting and adapting and responding to this in the right way, both from a sort of ethical and also just from a business opportunity perspective. Is definitely definitely the right approach to have. Are you guys? I know you're kind of involved heavily. Are you kind of involved in any sort of relief at this stage, or do you plan to be?
Yeah, no, we are. I mean, we tend to believe that charity starts at home. So we've had for many years. We sadly had one of our senior members committed suicide a number of years ago, and we introduced a third-party counselling service for anybody in our business. It's all paid for. It doesn't cost anybody any money, and it's all confidential. And they can ring at any time, 24/7. I mean, I actually get a report once a month that simply says how many sessions were conducted. No names, no pack drill, and it's gone up. I mean, we know that in the UK, suicides have gone up by 25%. So, being there for people, being cognizant, it's not just about health and it's not just about economy. It's also about taking people emotionally and mentally through all of this. So we have that in place, but we also have something called the Poolwerx Family Welfare Fund, where for many years our staff and our franchisees and our suppliers have been contributing, and it does small acts of kindness for our people, and it's been doing lots of things too.
Yeah, that's great, and you're right. You're so right. I mean, we're lucky here in Australia, but I think, there's a sort of social anxiety, and then there's a sort of certain mental strength and mental challenges that come with isolation. So that's a great initiative, and you should be proud of that. So just finally, we think we've covered off about most things. I'm just kind of interested to know, it sounds like you did some things very early on, and you kind of got out there and really kind of engaged with your partners and gave them the tools they needed to do things and keep everyone safe and happy and healthy. Is there anything that you've learned through this period that you think could be inspiring to other businesses, or that you're going to really hold on to and help drive you forward?
Yeah, look, there's actually many things. Some you could be aware of now, some you'll become more aware of once you review how you went through all of this. But it's times like this, people need leadership, and leadership that's empathetic leadership. Leadership they can follow, believe in, and trust more than they ever do. So, not everybody's a leader. Many of us are leaders in our business in some way. You don't have to be at the top of the tree. But it's time for leaders to stand up. It's what they've been in training for. It's what they're paid for. It's their job. But the difference this time is that it's an empathetic leadership. Not everybody needs to know where this is going to go. You just need to be looking after your people and have a focus on their health and welfare, and making sure they get to the other side so they can feed their families. So it's a pretty simple process at the moment: health and welfare, and lead and be seen. Don't be hiding behind emails and whatever. You've got to be visually in front of people at the moment. So it's an interesting time to lead.
Yeah, I think you touched on a good point there. It's when you're stripped back of so many choices and so many things you can do, it really really brings home the importance of those sort of core things in your life. And I think lots of people will sort of hold on to that up to this point. And I think, like you said previously, people will be remembered for their actions through this period. So I'm delighted that you responded like that as well. Okay, John, that's about all I've got. Thank you so much for taking the time out to have a chat to us today. It was really really insightful, and I'm pleased things are good with you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks so much.
Be safe.
You too.